So what you're about to watch is the process of writing a song from scratch, producing it, and then sending it off to Amy, the singer, and then essentially me mixing it afterwards and ending up with an Ammify song. And this process is being shown for song 12, which happens to be The Truth Will Set You Free. But this happens for every song. This is what we've done for every single song. The way we do this is essentially the same process. I start by making up a riff, I record the parts, I produce what's needed for the backing instruments, and then I send it through to her. She does her magic and then sends it back, and then we have a song. So I thought it'd be cool to show you this process for one of the songs, just to give you an idea of how we do it. From a selfish point of view, it's kind of cool to document this and just to see just what we do and how we do it. It's very cool. So yeah, step one is recording the main riff. So this is the main part of the song, the rhythm, I guess. Now, just full disclosure, what I'm about to record here is a riff I've had for many years that I've been playing around with. I've always enjoyed the way this riff sounds, but I never could find a place for it in a full fleshed out song. There is even an incantation of it about 20 years ago in a different band, but this is it being reinvented and being brought to life for this project. So obviously the first step was setting up the metronome, getting everything ready to go, and now recording the riff. And this is genuinely the riff that ends up in the song, and obviously with some processing, but that's the idea. I also record a part of it on a classical, here we go. Yeah, this is how the song starts, with the classical version of this riff. Yeah, I've always felt it was a very medieval sounding riff, so in my mind the video goes that way, which we'll get into next. So I guess this is sort of a pre-chorus or even a chorus, I'm not sure. We tend to structure our songs quite uniquely with Ammify. So this is, we'll call this section 2. Right, that's all done. Now step 2 is creating the song structure. So literally taking those parts I recorded, and I just record them in blocks. So I'll just record that intro riff you heard, then I'll just record the other part you heard, then I'll record another bit. You know, there's 3 or 4 sections. And now this is just me, you know, essentially time-lapsed, putting them in a different order and a different structure to make it into some sort of coherent sound, or order rather. So this is this is the process. And what you're seeing here is the final result of the structure of the song. Which we'll get into in more detail, obviously, but that's what you're seeing here. Just adding some reverb here and there for the guitar sound, but ultimately it's more about the structuring of the song and getting it in the order I need it to be. So here we go with the melodic pads. Now these are obviously, you know, they're just there to support the backing sound. So these electric piano tones I went for, I thought they were nice as a background sound, just to provide a bit of a bed for everything. So these are throughout the whole song. And I am literally writing these as you're seeing it being performed out. Only the guitar part before is what I've had worked on before for many years. But what you're seeing here is me actually performing in real time what I think would work for a pad. It's actually, I've forgotten some of this. This is cool. This is recorded but filmed about 6 months ago. I'm just catching up now with the editing of all this. So yeah, this is me basically putting everything together. The structure of the song I'm now following with this pad. And of course we have a string section, because why not? It's one thing I found when I was writing the music for Ammify is I just wanted to put everything and anything I felt worked for the song. Which of course we have a nice little cello part in there. We haven't got a cellist. We also haven't got a keyboardist, apart from Amy, who plays keyboards, and myself a little bit. But I'm also on guitar and she's on the vocals. And so when I wrote the song, I realized afterwards we need about probably 11 people minimum to make this possible live, which is why the video idea came through, the virtual concert. Again, here's me just copying and pasting all the parts I feel for the string section. But yeah, this has just been, it was just so much fun. And this, again, is the same process I use for every song. I create the main riff, I structure the song from those parts with the riff, I then get a backing pad, in this case it's that electric piano, and then we have some strings, And then from there, of course, we go into like percussion and all the fun stuff. I'm not a percussionist, so this is entirely keyboard generated. This is an awesome ensemble. It's East West Ra is the plugin I'm using here. It's basically sampled world instruments, and you can play them individual parts, like I'm doing here. I'm playing an ensemble of djembes and other really cool drum sounds, African drum sounds. But this is the reality of it. I haven't got a real drum kit anymore. I've sold all my drums up essentially to fund my camera gear. When I was putting my efforts into camera work, half my studio got sold, and part of that was including selling some awesome drum stuff, which I sampled first before I sold it, so kind of cheating. And of course the mandatory shakers. It's a lot of fun though. I do enjoy putting all this stuff together. It's really quite a, it's almost therapeutic for me just to be able to write all this stuff and build it from scratch. And to see this come together like this, I mean, just for yourself, this is how it all comes together, but it's kind of educational for me as well, seeing it, standing back and watching this process happen, because I just do it when I'm in the zone, but I don't ever get a chance to sit back and watch this happen. So it's kind of cool. Now, the actual drum groove. So I've got some sampled kits that I've owned over the years, and I'm using them. So this is from a Ludwig Classic Maple, this kick. And I've beefed it up with some electronic elements to give it some nice subbiness. So yeah, the kicks I'm using are real drum kicks, but they're also mixed in with the electronic elements. But they were kits that I actually owned in my studio, so they're not just random samples, they're actually mine, which is really cool. But from my point of view, I do like to put everything in this order. So I'll do the percussion parts, the shakers, the whatever, then the kick, and then the snare. So I'll build it one part at a time. I'm not the sort of person who likes to make pre-designed loops where you just hold down a finger and there's a pre-designed loop from some company that's made a loop. I like to build them from scratch and do one shot, literally making the groove from nothing. It just makes it more personal, but also for myself, I like to have that full control over all the parts I can manipulate afterwards, which you can't do with pre-made loops because you've only got that loop as a whole. Whereas this way, I can move everything around I want. Again, this snare is from that Classic Maple. This is actually the Black Beauty, the snare. Amazing sounding snare. Okay, you get the idea. So basically, I've got the whole kit. We've got the hi-hats, we'll have the cymbals, of course, as well. So what you're seeing here is literally a blow for blow production of this song. And all these parts that I'm doing in now, I'm watching myself play them right now, they are actually in the song. This isn't just sort of recorded for the video to show you what I did do in the song. This is actually me recording it on the fly, and it's going in the song. So I just happened to have the camera on. I wanted to capture this as I did it. So it was really cool to have this moment. And again, watching this back for me, it's really cool because I've now since got the song ready, and the video's been produced for it. But now watching this process back again, it's very cool. I forgot how much fun I had with this. I'm sure it's not as fun for you just watching my fingers go nuts, like doing just these moves. Yeah, so it's probably more fun for me than anyone else. So I do apologise if this is a bit monotonous. But it's fun. It's so fun. Like, this is great to see the song, as you heard about 5 minutes ago, there was just a guitar part. And now it's starting to build up into this full production. Again, these toms are individually sampled. This is actually from a sample library called Ministry of Rock. And the actual drums here, again, this one I'm using now is from a Ludwig kit. It's not my own one, but again, it's the sort of thing where you play individual toms. I've got 4 toms there, one for each finger, as individual hits. One thing I didn't show as well in this process is the quantizing of all these parts. So all those MIDI file, all those MIDI sections you see above my tom section there. In between shots, I would go to the processing of the quantizing, which means lining everything up to the grid with the metronome perfectly. So that way it's all lined up. This is essentially me recording it all in real time and then afterwards quantizing it to be spot on with the grid and lined up perfectly. It's funny hearing, again, hearing it back like this without Ammy's vocals yet, because when you hear the song in its entirety, you can't help but just be like, just completely distracted in the best way by her voice. It entirely takes over the song. It's a really, really cool thing to have such an amazing singer in this. Yeah, there's not much longer for the drum part. We're almost done. Again, it's more of a self-indulgent thing here, seeing this process, but hopefully you get some value out of just what's involved and what I go through to make these songs from scratch. If I was a drummer, I could probably just get set up at a kit and perform the whole thing at once, but this is the way I've got to do it. Bass, my second love, apart from the guitar. It's so good. This is fun. This is a J&D, this bass. They're actually relatively cheap. They're not very expensive basses at all. But my God, it's got amazing sound. You'll hear it in the recording. It just sounds so thick, and I actually liken it to a Stingray. And if anyone knows about bass guitars, the Stingrays they're incredible rock and metal basses. And they're made by Music Man. They're amazing bass guitars. This thing here sounds like one, to my ear anyway, when it's recorded. The only thing I've got here, of course, is a 4-string, but this is a 5-string part, so I have to detune that to make it work. Now, just some basic editing of the EQ and everything. So I won't bore you with the many hours this takes to get all the parts lined up nicely. But essentially what I'm doing here is I've got all the parts now. I've got the drums, I've got the strings, the pad, the guitar, obviously, bass guitar. So I'm just sort of equalizing the EQ a bit. So controlling how much of the low frequencies and high frequencies there are between the different instruments and letting some breathe and some take over. So it's just all about that. Yes, my metal pick. This is what I use to record. Everything on this album is being with metal picks. And a stone pick as well. I haven't shown that here, but they're actually all steel picks, and I just find them really... Well, I like hard picks. I don't like the floppiness at all, so I found, well, I'll go for the steel. Then when I heard the sound of it in the recording guitar, it just sounded great. So I've always used the metal picks for everything I do now. And this album is entirely metal picks. There's nothing on there with your typical nylon, plastic, or whatever is picks. This is backing guitar parts. This is like if there was a second guitarist in the band, they'd be doing this part. And these are all riffs that happen in the verses and the choruses. Some octave playing. Again, these are all things that happen in the chorus. I generally keep things pretty simple during the verses for Ammify. Not always the case, but for this song here in particular, there's not a lot going on guitar-wise. It's Ammy's voice takes over. I'll let her do her thing. Here's a guitar solo. So in the video, I'm sort of adorned with a hoodie, looking all mysterious and quite dorky personally. But this is the solo. This is the actual solo that was recorded. Well, it's the harmony part of it. There's two parts to it, actually. So in the final mix and edit, we have with all those parts. At this stage here, I've got everything I need recorded from my end. So there's nothing new at all that has been added since I just finished that guitar solo. Here's all the parts, the guitars, the bass, the keyboards, all the drums and percussion. They're all done now. And this is me just giving final tweaks to move things around if I needed to. And then after that, it's just a matter of getting this shot off to Ammy. And here we are. This is the vocals now. So she tends to send me about sometimes up to 30 layers of her vocals. They're not full song tracks of her vocals. There might be one whole layer is just the verse, one might be just a harmony. But I get it in 30. Here we go. Yeah, the final mix with the vocals. So basically, I get it in chunks of maybe 30 individual tracks. I then blend them when I need to blend them. I essentially build the whole. As you can see here, I'm cutting out a lot of the air, so to speak, getting rid of all that, putting tracks up marrying them up into the same file. But if I've got a certain tone, a certain effects, a certain EQ I want on a certain part of the vocal, I'll bring them up and consolidate them into their own tracks. So as you can see, I'm just sort of bringing all those 30 tracks into about 5 or 6. And there we have it. And then this is the result.